Hi YouTubers, Stu H back again. Been a little bit of interruption in service again, busy with real life, not had much time to get brewing. Going to do a few things today. Going to talk a bit about Brewcon London, which was a fantastic event. I would heartily recommended it. Not sure what I was expecting when I went, but I really enjoyed it. The talks are fantastic. I'm going to talk about my Christmas brew. Sorry, this has been kicking around in the garage for a while, hence it looks like it's been eaten by rats. So for my Christmas brew, I'm doing a WITBIER. I'll talk a little bit about why and the how, and we shall also finally get you a look at the Czech Pilsner I brewed, which has actually come out really well, and I'm really pleased with it. So yeah, let's crack on. Right, first things first, I'm going to just quickly talk you through my Christmas brew. I decided this year to do a WITBIER. Kind of like the idea of the sort of bitter orange peel with coriander, very sort of spicy, orange is quite seasonal. You get it in Christmas pudding, you get it in Christmas cake, etc. They used to dry it and use it as decorations along with apple and things like that. So yeah, that's my thinking. I thought a WITBIER, a nice sort of glass of WITBIER would go nice with a sort of Christmas pudding cream. So that's why I went for it. I'll put a screenshot of it up now so you can have a quick look at it. Nothing that wacky. So the rice hulls, actually, I'm really surprised. I put those in and actually only put 200 grams in, and it has actually made quite a difference to the flow of the mash. It certainly made a difference from the outset. It's been pretty stable. I mean, I'm looking at it now, and actually every time I look at it, I can probably speed up the recirculation a little bit. So what I'm looking for is if the level is rising, then I can speed it up. If the level is falling, I need to slow it down. So I've literally been just sort of trying to tweak it to get that optimal recirculation, but it's looking really good. It's really what I would consider to be quite a fast flow. It's not a bad thing for efficiency, right? So, you know, I went with the Brewpacks rice hulls. I used 200 grams in, what have we got here? We've got probably about a 6 kg grain bill. That's worked out pretty well so far. Happy with that. Certainly something I consider again, especially when you've got a lot of adjuncts like flake wheat and flake oats, because they're quite gelatinous in their nature. Pilsner malt as a wheat malt, red malt. I chatted to my homebrew store, they'd never heard of it. You know, I'm sure it's something I could probably find online, or if you, it says the name Breeze there, which I'm assuming is the manufacturer. In fact, I'm nearly sure that is the manufacturer. I probably could have got it from them, but what I went with was dark wheat malt instead. So we'll see what that comes out like. The flake wheat was pretty easy to get. So the one thing I did go slightly different, I did buy some flaked oats from my local homebrew store, but when I was at Brewcon, the packaging's wrong, but the company's right. Muntons were handing out a brand new adjunct, a toasted flaked oat that they've recently produced. I've got their catalogue. I'll put a screenshot of it in there. I did get given this for free, but it was just a substitute for something that I'd already bought. So yeah, I'm going to try that out. I think a toasty flavour in a wheat beer, especially at Christmas, a sort of toasty biscuity flavour with orange and coriander is going to go really nicely together. This as well, I like to taste all the ingredients, because I figure if it tastes nice before you put it in the beer, there's a quite a good chance it'll taste nice when it comes out. So you know, normal flaked oats are quite powdery. They can be quite gelatinous in your mouth quite quickly, whereas these are sort of a little bit crunchy, a little bit more toasty. They've got quite a nice sort of almost like breakfast cereal type flavour to them. So toasted breakfast cereal. So we'll see what that comes out like. Keen to see that. Got nothing to compare it with because I've never brewed this recipe before, but maybe I'll circle back at a later date and we'll see what that's like. So just diving into the rest of the recipe. A few, as the sort of usual mash steps that I like to do, certainly on these sorts of like European beers and lagers. I think the acid rests and the amylase rests work really well, produce quite a nice clean beer. Saz again here, and then bitter orange peel, which I think was the Brew Firm one, was the one I managed to get, which we'll see what that's like. Haven't opened that and tasted that yet. Coriander seeds, I've got those, they're indoors. Yeah, I think I bought those from the Co-op spice rack or something like that. Yeah. Oh, and I went with the Belgian Wit Ale WLP 400. I managed to find that. Malt Miller had that and then shipped that to me and did a nice job. They sell like a little cooling pack you can put in with it to keep it cool while it's shipping. I bought it about a month ago, so it was a bit warmer then, but I think at the moment it's the perfect time to be ordering liquid yeast. It's pretty much cold enough to lager in your garage at the moment. So I got all the water ready last night on this brew. I set everything up, put the lactic acid in there, set up the right volumes in both units, pre-programmed the Brewdevil last night, ran in the morning, flicked them on, went and had some coffee, looked at my smart meter thing, and as soon as I saw the smart meter thing drop down to about sort of 300 watts, which is the tick over for the house, certainly when you're in and got a couple of lights on, I knew that everything was up to temp and these things weren't kicking in anymore. So then I came out, and yeah, we're mashing in. We're coming up 15 minutes from the end of the 40-minute mash step. So I've just given it a good stir. I've checked the specific gravity with the old refractometer, and actually we're bang on, which is surprising. I'm normally way over, but I did adjust my brew house efficiency slightly. I upped it by 1%, so I think hopefully either it's the combination of grains or I'm starting to actually get to a point where I've got a nice number for my brew house efficiency. I'll probably throw it out the window next year with a whole bunch of different grain that's more efficient or something. So yeah, that's going well. I'm not going to dive too much into the actual brewing process today. Plenty of videos out there. I'll put a link to some other videos I've done if you want to look at those. What else did I want to cover? So we've covered the probably just a little bit of a thank you to a few of the people who I met at Brewcon. Sarah Paintry, had a really nice chat with her, really nice person, and she, you know, we've been chinwagging ever since about different stuff to do with forming clubs, etc. She did a really great presentation on how to run a homebrew competition, which I really enjoyed and was really informative. The venue, which was Beavertown Brewery, was fantastic. I'll put maybe a couple of little short videos and screenshots. I'll put them right at the end, and then if you want to watch them, you can watch them. If not, you want to get on with your day or want to get brewing, I understand, that'll be the thing. There were some other, some really great presentations. Will Longmate from Simply Hops did a really nice presentation, and they gave away 500 grams of hops to everybody, a whole bunch of different mixes. He made a really interesting point that if we don't use traditional hops and don't buy them, the growers stop growing them and then you just can't get them. So don't be afraid to brew some traditional styles, to use some traditional hops, because that means the growers will continue to grow them. Even if they only grow, a half a row or something like that, at least that hop will be available and you'll continue to be able to brew with it going forward. Otherwise people just won't grow it, or you'll have to grow it small batch in your own back garden. That was a really nice message and I really enjoyed that. I think probably Rob Gallagher did one on Czech lagers, having just done a Czech Premium Pilsner. Massively informative. It was really great to be able to ask him questions. He's obviously a competition one. I think he won Best in Show recently with one of his Czech Pilsners. Really nice guy as well. I chatted to him and his other half afterwards. So, I think probably the highlight for me was the club night. When I looked at the club night online and I signed up for it, I didn't read it I thought it was like a sort of in a bar type thing, but it wasn't. It was all of the clubs, and this is me being ignorant, it was all of the clubs getting together and doing a judging of each other's beer, and just sort of sharing it around. I met some really nice guys, Sean and Martin from the West Midlands. I met some guys from Reading who are only down the road from me, who might try and have a hook up with and maybe a bottle swap with. So yeah, no, just some really fantastic guys. A couple of people mentioned to me that they'd seen my videos before and had laughed at them as much as they found them informative, which is brilliant, because if I can't educate, I'll entertain, hopefully. So heartily recommend getting to one of these. There's a couple of them around the country. There's certainly one in Leeds. There's one in London, and certainly if it's in Beavertown next year, I recommend going. The food was fantastic as well. They had a really nice sort of company that came in and did sort of smoked barbecues and roasted brisket overnight, and the food was amazing. Venue was great. The people were really nice. and it was a really nice, unforced chatting. You know, it was one of those things where people just started talking to you, talked about the beers they brew in the club they were in, and it, you know, it was a very free-flowing day, which I really enjoyed, and great presentations. So I'll stop waffling. Hopefully I've convinced you to go next year. So, you know, 2020, get yourself to Brewcon, either London or Leeds, or join a club. That's probably the one thing I haven't done, is joined a club, and I really should, given, you know, the nice people that I met and the fantastic beers I tried from the club night. You're missing a trick if you don't join a club. So that's my, along with entering some competitions this year, that's my one thing I want to do this year. Thanks to Paul at Angel Homebrewing, really fantastic to meet him. I've chatted to him a lot because I buy things from Paul all the time, and he keeps you up to date all the time in great detail about when things are going to arrive, when they're not going to arrive. So that really, you know, that just, you end up having conversations with him, and he's a really nice guy. I bought some bits for him, and obviously I review the Brewdevil. So, you know, obviously we have conversations about that. So thanks to him, and a really nice chat with him. There were some really nice free goodies given away in a grab bag, nice glass. The malt miller chucked in a new hop treating agent, anti-foaming, for in the fermenter, and the idea being that if you've got brews with very active fermentations, you can put this stuff in. It's all naturally made from hops, and it keeps the crescent down on the top to a much more manageable amount. Therefore, you can put more in your fermenter without worrying about blowing over the top. They were also giving away free hops, so, you know, Cardinal and Endeavour, 100 grams of each. Thank you, guys. I'll put a screenshot up of the talks, because if you just see all the talks that were available for you to go and to listen to, so educational, really being able to ask people questions in real time. Yeah, you know, loads of BJC judges there you could have a chat with, BJCP judges rather, you could have a chat with. So I'll put a screenshot of the different talks up. Hopefully you'll enjoy having a look at that, and that will inspire you to go. Hi YouTubers, so we're into the mash out step 2 now, which is I think it's the beta amylase rest, 68 degrees for 15 minutes. I'm a little bit of a tactic I'm trying at the moment is putting my mashing temperature at 0.1 of a degree below the temperature I actually want, and the thinking behind that is I'm trying at 900 watts, which is a little bit more power than normal, and I'm trying to create a sort of, because remember the temperature is sort of a sinusoidal behavior, right? It runs up, then it clicks on, it comes back, and then it, you know, it's doing that. And what obviously what you're trying to do is aim to get the average around the temperature you want to mash at, bearing in mind it's a reasonably large body of liquid, so therefore the temperature isn't actually going to change that rapidly in it, despite what the temperature probe is telling you. However, just by dropping that a bit, I figured I'm sort of, should we say, just below where I want to be, and I'm just experimenting with that at the moment. So I just checked the specific gravity, and it's up to 1.05. So that's going in the right direction. Obviously I'm going to be, I've got a small sparge on this, so I need to be over the 1.041 that the pre-boil gravity is going to be. So, and yeah, I think probably what I will do is aim for the numbers rather than worry about how much liquid I've got, because I've got, I think, bottling, or should we say packaging volumes, around 25 litres. I can get 19 in a keg, and then I'll throw a few in some bottles. So, or maybe just to allow a little bit to fermenter loss, is about 1.6 on my fermenters, I think. So I'll probably fill a keg and have enough for a couple of bottles. If I have 3 or 4 bottles, it doesn't matter to me. What I'll do is probably try and hit the right alcohol content. So I'll make sure the specific gravity is right going into the fermenter rather than the liquid volume, should we say. And that's why I always just brew a little bit more liquid than you need. Also, that means that you can, you know, you have less challenge around dead space, and you're less likely to suck a load of crap into your last bottle of beer. So yeah, going well so far. No hint of a stuck mash here. I've never had stuck mashes before, or nothing significant. Maybe on my old Esky system I did, brewing with a lot of adjuncts, mainly flake corn, I think was a really big problem. But so far pretty good. I've given it 2 stirs. I think that will do. I'll check the specific gravity as we get to the end of, or closer to the mash out. I think obviously at the point of the mash out, it's going to shut down the enzymatic reaction anyway, so there's going to be no more conversion happening at that point. In fact, I mean, some of the stuff I've heard is that most of the enzymatic reactions happen quite early on in the mashing process, or at the step of the temperature in the mashing process, if that makes sense. So in this case, we're doing 3 main mashing steps. Most of the enzymatic reaction happens quite quickly, a bit like fermentation, but it's within those steps. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll flick back to you in a minute and give you. I'll let you know what the estimated the pre-boil specific gravity was. I've managed to dig out my SAS hops. I've got the coriander ready to go. Just got to measure those up. I do need to go back to the recipe and find out how much to crush the coriander. I think when it comes to the coriander into the boil, I am going to go with a hot bag. It's a very fine. I mean, once it's in the boil, it probably will soften up quite a lot, but I think I don't want it transferring over into the fermenter because then it's going to continue to impart flavour. I just want to impart the flavour while it's, you know, during the boiling and cooling process, and then remove it completely from the equation. So I'm going to put the coriander into a very, very fine hot bag, and that's traditionally my tactic with hopping, is just to put everything in hot bags. You know, you don't have to care about it getting in your pump or getting over into the fermenter, etc. You might get a little bit less hop extraction maybe from a hot bag, but I try to agitate them around, so to get over that, and maybe just you know, get the, at the end of the boil, just get the recirculation arm and pump it into the hot bag, fill it with a load of liquid so that it sort of drains out, and then I sort of hang it on the hook here, so you get the last bit dregs of sort of any flavour out of them you can. So I think that's it for now. Yeah, we'll speak in a minute. Cheers. So, let's have a look at the Czech Pilsner. So the only thing I am slightly concerned about is I have moved the keg, so that's a bit of a concern about it coming out cloudy. It has been coming out fantastically clear. I do have a bottled example which I tried last night, which is really clear and really nice. Let's have a look at this. This doesn't come out very clear, then we'll try the one out the bottle. No, it looks okay. It's got obviously nice head on it, as you can see. Reasonably tight head. It's not that cold today, so, and it's out of the fermenting fridge because I need to get another the fermenter back in there to do the WITBIER, of course. So I got it out figuring it was cold. Hopefully you can see that, because it's not so cold. It is a little cloudy from where I've moved the keg, but as you can see, that's a cracking beer, nice head on it. I'm using a picnic tap with 3/8, serving at about 11. I compared this to a Hellas. I think it's one of the London brewing companies that does a Hellas. I compared it to them side by side, and they're both very, very similar. I think mine was slightly better carbonated and just slightly darker. I think I'll see if I can dig a screenshot out I put up on the Facebook group. So I'm no beer judge, but it was a very similar flavour. It's got a nice bitterness, but a refreshing bitterness to it. It's fermented out really nicely. It's a really nice clear beer with really nice carbonation. Hopefully you can see that. I would definitely brew it again, and you can go find the recipe and brew it yourself if you like to. But yeah, definitely I will be adding sort of Czech Pilsners and Bavarian Golden Lagers, certainly to the back end of my winter brews, so that I've got them ready for the summer. So I've certainly enjoyed drinking it. I've canned some of it as well. I missed Lager Than Life, the home brewing competition. Otherwise I would have put it in for that. But yeah, next year, right? So Hey YouTubers, so there's been quite a large pause from when I recorded the main bulk of this video until today. Just life, you know, life, Christmas, the winter, back to work, the new year, things get in the way. So I guess is it a positive or a negative for a wit beer? I don't know. I mean, the spiced and the orange elements, I think it's a little bit like a hoppy beer. You really want to drink it fresh, but nevertheless, I'll let you have a look at the WITBIER. I'm going to go over here and pour it. The brew garage is an absolute dump at the moment, so it's and with the sun coming from behind, it's pretty hard to shoot. So we're around the other way today. So let's see if I can spin you around and give you a little shot. It's been sat in the fridge for a long time, which I mean is a good thing for cleaning up the flavour, but is it necessarily a good thing when you've got things like delicate spices in it and you know, some of the more sort of orangey type flavours, which are a little bit like the sort of hoppy style flavours, which can, you know, suffer or be quite delicate. I mean, hopefully you can see that it's lovely and clear. There's a little bit of haze on the glass, but that's just condensation. I'm trying to get it there so you can see the lovely golden colour. I mean, that is a pub garden summer's day, you know, bitter orange peel and a little coriander is what you're supposed to get from it. I mean, it's a lovely clean beer. You get the spice, you get a little bit of the spice there. If you look at the recipe, I particularly went with the orange peel and the spice right at the bottom end of what's detectable. Obviously you want it to meld into the flavour of the beer. I mean, that's a really nice summer's day beer. Is the spice and the orange leaping out? Oh, I think if I told you it was a wit beer, you might be looking for those flavours. As I've always said, I'm no beer judge. I'm just an enjoyer of beer. I like it. It's good. It's got a nice sort of steady carbonation there. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, I mean, it's a good solid beer. It's been sitting for a while, but that's sort of through necessity, shall we say, dry January and all that. That's a good solid beer. I might even take some of that from the keg and bottle it and stick it into a competition and try and get some proper feedback. So hopefully that's useful, gives you an idea what the beer came out like. Yeah, good solid beer.
So, from a yeast perspective, I mean, I'm a yeast guy. I've been working with yeast and fermentation for over 20 years, and it's really interesting.
UK, but a long time ago you wouldn't actually use hops. As well as you know, being a flavouring, hops are also a preservative. So one of the reasons they did become popular in beer is people found that hoppy beers tended to last longer.
Yeah, they're mostly manufactured, but they do look ancient.
And you could have been here. In other words, tough fucking potatoes.